Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 18 of Planet Zoo here on the channel. I am so grateful you have joined in with me today. I am changing up the format of these videos, and it's actually kind of interesting because I have recorded everything and I'm actually putting and editing the video right now, and I've realized I never did an intro to this video. So I've gone back in the save game files here and plopped up episode 17 right where we ended 2 weeks ago, and we're doing an intro for this video. So I know how this video turns out, which I am going to change next episode, episode 19. We're changing that up a little bit more. I don't want to take too long in this intro. I just kind of simply want to, just want to talk about what we're going to do today. As you can tell from the title of the video, we're going to be building a bird show. I am actually super excited how this turned out, and I'm pretty sure I talk about inspiration and kind of everything that came into building this, but I really wanted to build a bird show, and so that's what I did. The other thing we do is we add a cabin or a lodge right here, which is going to be our first cut. That's the very first thing we do, and then we go back and over here to, let's turn that on so we don't fly back here. We also kind of come in here and work on the jungle here and kind of fill it out. And I really like how this turned out, guys. So the bird show goes right here, and we add another building right here and really expand the jungle here. I'm excited for you guys to chug along with me throughout these cuts, to really fill out. And so you guys can see how I built the bird show. And not me just coming in here and saying, here's my finished product. This is what I've done for the last 2 weeks. I really wanted to show you kind of how that came together, and I hope you do enjoy this. So let's go ahead and jump to that first cut where we start working on this cabin. Anyway, we'll see you on the other side of this cut. Alright. So now you can see, I think this lodge fits really well into our zoo. I think this lake really complements it. I don't think this lake takes up a lot of space, but I also think this lodge just looks so good. And I'm really sorry I can't remember who the creator of this lodge is, but definitely we'll have a link down in the description below. But I really wanted it to feel like this space got some attention, but it didn't feel overcrowded. Is the best way. So you can see there's quite a few open spaces on it. This lodge I think would be used for like private events. Let's say you could like reserve it for your company party, a wedding, whatever you wanted to do. I know people like to get married in the zoo. So there's like different spaces in here. Let's see, I know this is horrible what I'm doing with the camera. I'll come here. But I think it just looks really well, and in my opinion, I think it gives a really good view. Like, imagine standing here. Like, this is just a pretty view of the entrance of the zoo, and people do use it. People come up here. Obviously, I put a vista point in there, but I think this thing really shines at night. Of just how pretty that looks at night. Like, it just, I think all of the lighting that was done on it is really good. And then on the other side, we'll get this turned around. I put some spotlights to really give it that lodge feel of just giant spotlights on it. But yeah, I put this lodge in as like a way for money a way for the zoo to gain money by reserving this. They could do like donors conferences in here and stuff like that, and just, yeah, different things that the zoo could get more money from. So that was just something really quick. I tried to work on that quite a bit, like I said, and then just resort to the Steam Workshop. People on there within the community build way cooler stuff than I can. So yeah, that was kind of just a one-off thing. Let's go over and talk about what we did with the jungle. Okay, so I know that this is not like really raw uncut that you might see other creators do. But this one kind of is the closest we're going to get, I think. Um, so I mentioned in the last episode how I really dove deep into like the theming of this area. And one of the things, I wanted to create another lake. After looking at a couple of zoo master plans over the last couple of days, I've noticed there's a lot of lakes in zoos, especially big zoos. And so I wanted to really bring that aspect into this. And I thought, what better way to do it than like a South American jungle theme? So I drained the water for the crocodiles. I'm going to dismiss these really quick. I drained the water for the crocodiles, and I'm going to bring that back, but I wanted to come in and put a wall in of where their habitat would come to. And then like a concrete bottom that they could come and clean out if ever need be. But then the water, they could lower it, and so this could still have water in it, but yeah, this portion they could clean and get all taken care of. Um, this took a lot of work. Obviously, there's a ton of rocks in here, almost 300 rocks, and that doesn't even include all of this. And then like the terrain and everything, and getting the water in there. I used a technique that Rubel taught. It was about how putting glass out and figuring it out, and that's how I built most of this. Really helpful. But yeah, so that's kind of my pond. There's not whole lot to report on this one. This one was just, here's a progress of me building it, and kind of figuring out how to get the water in here. I tried to keep the details as possible, or like in here, so these would be vents that they could transport back and forth. Let's say when this is empty, they could then start pumping water in or pumping water out. I'm not 100% sure, but just wanted to add that other bit of detail in there. So other than that, I don't believe there's anything much that has happened. But yeah, let's go ahead and do that next cut, and we'll jump on over there. Okay, we've come. We filled this pond or this lake, or like I said, it's very jungly, and I really like that, and got the crocodiles back in here. This building. So I've been looking at the Jungle Cruise movie set, like the village, trying to get some big inspiration off of that, and not necessarily did anything come out of it, except maybe this building. I was looking at one of the reference videos, or one of the reference images, and I noticed that there's kind of like an outpost just up on stilts, kind of off in the corner, and so that's what this is meant to be, is just like this outpost, with just a ton of crap on it, and then it has like a ladder that can come down with some boats, and it just leads to nowhere. But it's just there for theming, to add to the theme of this jungle. And then we're going to jump down into it for the jungle village. It's not much of a village. I added one building. One piece that I really, really, really wish we had, because so there was a piece, I know that was a horrible noise. There was a piece in Planet Coaster that came out with a Studios pack that was like a studio light that you would just hang on rigging. I wish we had that light, because this light fulfills that, but I really wish we had that studio light, because I think there's just some applications that would be really beneficial. This is one of them. Theming lights. This is unrealistic for theming lights. I think that that Studios one would be much better, and I think it could fit in a little easier. Just a thought. I don't ever think we'll get it. But this building, so I added this building last time, and this is my restroom building. And it was a part of episode 17. I didn't really talk about it too much, but it's an exotic tours, so you, like, obviously it's a facade for toilets, but you could come get exotic tours of the jungle. Over here is kind of like your kitchen, or maybe like a market. So we have Mexcelente in there. Pretty simple building, but it's like 4 different buildings built into one, and it's like the first building I've ever tried to do that. So I think it came out really well um, for doing that. And then they have this wonderful seating area that actually works. You can see there's a path and a path there. They can come up in here, and I think it's really great views of this alligator and just like the overall jungle aspect of it. But I think this area really pops at night, and I really focused on night lighting. But like those lights came up, and they kind of just keep like pops of light on the trees and stuff like that. I think it should be a little bit more run down, but I don't feel like I have the skills to do something like that. So anyway, that is the jungle village. We're going to start working on what is actually the main portion of this episode, which is going to be our bird show, which is going to be back over here. So let's go ahead and bring it back down to day. Let it adjust. So the bird show is going to be right in here. I redo a lot of the road work here because this bird show takes up probably about that much, and heavily inspired by Animal Kingdom's The Up experience in Animal Kingdom, their bird show. Recently, when I built this, I had just come back from Disney World, and I was like, I need a bird show, and I want to build a bird show. So I built a bird show. So let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, so this is like the beginning stages of my bird show. I just kind of started laying out some ideas of what I was thinking. Again, taking pretty heavy inspiration of the bird show from Up. And I'll put a picture up here. But yeah, I really wanted that experience, and like you can, if I bring it back here, you can see it's not one for one, but you can see it's pretty heavily inspired by it. But there would be a ton of spots out here that the birds could come and land on, all of these different posts. One of the things that they did during our shows, they put food up here, and then at the end of the show, all the different birds came and landed out on them. But they could have a bird land here and interact, like the keeper could come out and interact with the bird, or they could have it land here. Just a lot of different spots that it could land. I think this is one of my favorite thoughts about like kind of bringing something from Animal Kingdom. So kind of in the lead up of the show, they had a chicken come out, basically on a pole like this out of a window, and came and turned on a stereo while they're putting food, and it was a fun kind of back and forth with the chicken. So tried to recreate that there with those boxes. Backstage for this building, or this is their backstage. This is mostly would be used for the show. They would only bring the birds in here for the show. I am going to build a building right here that would mostly be storing the birds. I mean, they might have some bird cages in here, but mostly over here is where they would store the birds. But yeah, so they would be able to come out and walk out if they needed to, or whatever, but they have just a ton of different opportunities for them to showcase these birds. And I really like this kind of broken temple. I think it really plays well in with the South America. So let's go ahead, and I can't remember exactly what I do next, but let's go ahead and jump over there and take a look at this next cut as we continue to work on this bird show. Alright, so you can kind of see more of this concept coming together. Like I mentioned in the last cut, this would be the building. Not going to do an interior for it, but this would be the building that they could kind of house the birds a little bit more. But they also, so they could come in here, they could have a keeper come out here and put food up here, and the birds could fly from here to here and have interactions with the guest. And then I also got what is going to be the platform for the seating. So one of the things that I didn't want to make this so complicated that I got burned out, and kind of, so it just is, there's no like semi horseshoe shape, I guess you could say. I don't know, where this side is like a different angle and this side's a different angle, kind of like a C theater. It is just one platform, but I think it turns out okay in the end. but yeah, so I just kind of tied all of that in, and kind of started working on tying this into the area as well. Um, so yeah, this building, it gets capped with a roof, same color as this one, and gets some air conditioning units. But there's not a whole lot to say on this cut other than there's that building, and I think the next thing we're gonna do is put a roof on it, and then work on the chairs is my next cut. So let's go ahead and jump over there. So we are back. Obviously, a ton of work has been done, and that's because I accidentally saved over one of my progress updates. Unfortunately, this is the finished product. I'm sorry I don't have other cuts, but yeah, this is it. So my last cut, I had this kind of rock formation, and I went and since then I went and put in all the chairs, all custom chairs. Um, Guys, this is the most frustrating thing about the Planet series is so this is not built on like the world access. This is kind of built on, and this is not true. So you can like see that there's some that are and like all the way up here. It's just not perfect, and it's good enough though. I think this canopy turned out really nicely. I really like it. I don't know if it's structurally sound. I don't know if it could support like the weight of snow. I don't think it would be able to. I think they would need like a pillar right here. But obviously not going to put a pillar in the middle of the show, so it's going to have to work. But they have a pillar here, and they have several pillars along the back of it to support it. I went and put in, so this like fenced areas where like handicap could come and sit. Ultimately, they do have a ramp down here, but most of the time they would just stay up here. This is like a operator's booth for like lighting and sound and stuff like that. But yeah, and then over on this side, I have another one of those platforms that the birds could come and fly to get over there, and then I have one in the back as well that they could fly to, because they had like a ton of interaction with the guests in the bird show that I went to. So if you remember, I just had come back from Animal Kingdom, where I got a lot of the inspiration for this from, and so that was one of the things. They had interaction with the guests quite a bit. Here's that finished building. You can see the road ended up having to get moved. It was a little bigger than I was expecting, but it ended up getting moved, and I think it's going to be for the best, with kind of what I have planned in the future. But yeah, I think it came together really well. And then the front side, I think, is actually pretty minimal for how big this theater is. I didn't want to go full on Animal Kingdom on the outside, and I didn't really know how. I've tried. Like these pieces, this kind of entrance was heavily inspired by it. But it's going to be the Golpe Theater is who's sponsoring this theater. And then this is how you would queue in for it. So you'd go down and back, and then when they open, you'd go in. And then the other thing that I've never even considered until I built this was like having a backstage access that's semi-decently sized. I think of like all the theme parks that I was able to go to while I was in Magic Kingdom, and they have big doors to get their trucks in, their service vehicles in while the zoo is closed to kind of maintain all of this. And I just had never thought about it. So I went and have put in a bigger one here, and there'll be a pretty big gate on this. I think it's in the next cut, which I'm not going to show because the only thing I think I add is that gate. So I'll just show you. I use this one. I just turn it upside down. So you can see it kind of if it's placed just right, it's got all the hinges and everything. So this is going to become a staple in my zoo as well to allow that access into the backstage. But I think this works really well. Obviously it's an implied exhibit or habitat or show, but I think these are the things that zoos would have. Maybe a higher budget zoo like this one potentially is, to showcase birds like the South American birds. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I have speakers here that I can click on that are the birds of the jungle. So it sounds like a ton of birds are in here. And then on the sides there, I've got the speakers for the show, and then all the show lights. So let's go ahead and jump down into that nighttime view, and you can see they could easily run this show during the night, and have it look really pretty with all the different lights and everything. So this would be something that runs all day long, multiple shows a day, to showcase the birds. But I think sitting here on a bench, it looks like you're still in the jungle. Like, you cannot tell that those trees would technically not be in the zoo. Those would be outside. So I think that works really well for what we have.